Good morning. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome you all here, both online and in person, to this session at the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact Barcelona Forum, entitled A Beginner's Guide to Urban Food Policy. My name is Florence Pardo. I'm a City Food Policy Officer at the Food Foundation. We are delighted to be invited here today to host this session, so a big thank you to the organisers for inviting us. As I just mentioned, the session is in both Spanish and English, so if you don't have a headset and you need one, please do grab one from just outside. Earlier this year, as part of our Food Cities 2022 Learning Partnership, which I'll be telling you more about at the end, we ran a webinar series called A Food Strategy for Your City. It was an 8-part series which we delivered in partnership with the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, with Eat Right India's Eat Smart Cities Challenge, and with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine's Chefs Programme. It was a practical introduction to creating and delivering a food strategy for a city. We began with looking at why cities should be developing food strategies, what we mean by a food strategy. We looked at governance and leadership, then the sorts of interventions and policies that go into a strategy. We looked at working with partners, engaging stakeholders, and finally we also data and monitoring, and finally we looked at how to grow your movement within your city and bring stakeholders across the city along on your journey with you. The entire series is available now on the Food Foundation's YouTube channel, and also you can access and explore it through our learning platform, and I'll explain how to do that towards the end of the session. In today's session, we are going to be hearing from 4 speakers from around the globe who have been beginning their work on food policy in response to the unique and diverse challenges that they face in their cities and their ambition to provide healthy and sustainable food to all citizens within a thriving local food economy. I hope you're going to get lots of practical ideas and inspiration from this morning's session. We have a Q&A at the end, so we'll be taking questions from the room and also questions online. My colleague Chloe, who's back in the UK, is on the chat function for those participants that are online. So do pop any questions you have in the chat, and we'll come to that at the end of the session. So it's a pleasure to hand over to Anna Taylor. Anna is the Executive Director of the Food Foundation, and she's the chair for today's session. Anna has a master's from the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine and Human Nutrition. She's worked on childhood nutrition for organisations like Save the Children and UNICEF. She spent some time with the UK Department for Health, and she spent 5 years leading the policy team on nutrition for the Department for International Development. She joined the Food Foundation as their first Executive Director 5 years ago. Thank you, and over to you.
Thanks, Florence. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm really looking forward to our conversation together. What we might do when we come to the discussion is perhaps draw everybody a bit closer, and we can really try and see if we can have quite an in-depth conversation together. That's one of the benefits of having a smaller group in person, but obviously we'll want to bring in those who are also online. So, wonderful to be here. I'm super excited to be able to introduce our speakers as we go, and I think a particular shout out should go to Mr. Lapadula, dialed in from Rio Grande very early in the morning and at short notice. So a very, very warm welcome, and fantastic to have you with us. We're looking forward to hearing your contribution shortly.
Thank you.
Great to have you with us, and a warm welcome to all of you. It's just so great, isn't it, to have a meeting where we have some opportunity for in-person interaction, and a real treat to have a chance to meet people from so many different parts of the world. And today, I think we've probably got quite a unique panel because we have 4 continents represented, and if you include Florence and myself, 5. So we're doing pretty well. We've got Southeast Asia, South Asia, South America, Europe with us, and who am I forgetting? Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa. So it's very exciting to be able to draw on experience from very different settings, and I think I wanted to just say very briefly how I've come into this work. At the Food Foundation, we're a UK-based charity, and we are supporting Birmingham, which is the UK's second city, on their journey to develop and their food work. And as part of that journey, we've created a partnership between Birmingham City and Pune Municipal Corporation. And Mr. Mute will be talking to us a bit about Pune's work as we go forward. And it's been really exciting to see the types of conversations that emerge when you get city leaders from two very different parts of the world trying to grapple with how to improve the food system in their cities. It's amazing how many common challenges arise, even in very different settings. And what's exciting is that these are pretty hard challenges to grapple with. And when you get the creativity of people coming from very different backgrounds and settings, it can spark off ideas and conversations which you wouldn't expect. So ideas have come into Birmingham from Pune, which they wouldn't have heard from other cities in the UK. So I think what's really exciting about this kind of conversation is that it creates those new ideas and a cross-fertilisation of experience. So today we're thinking particularly about starting on this journey around developing a food policy or a food strategy. And I think part of the challenge at the very beginning, of course, and many of you will know this, is how you secure the political commitment for action in a city context. And I think what we see with food is that quite often we're pushed into trying to deal with food because we're faced with some of the challenges that it's causing. Maybe those challenges are to do with the impact that agriculture is having on soil or biodiversity, or the concern to move towards net zero and reduce emissions. Or maybe it's because we're concerned about the fact that our dietary health, citizens in our city are not doing well in terms of their nutrition. Maybe they're facing undernutrition, or maybe there's high levels of obesity and overweight. It's food causing problems. Or maybe there's marked inequalities where some people are hungry and others not, doing very well, and that inequality is causing health problems as well. And I think what's the journey of trying to get that political commitment is about starting to see food not as a problem, but as actually helping to solve some of these problems. Not just fixing food, but actually helping food to go even further. So actually, how can our food systems regenerate soils? How can they not just stop having a negative impact on nature, but actually enhance biodiversity? How can we make sure that our diets don't just make us sick, but they actually make us really well and build our immunity and set us up for long-term good health? So I think this step in trying to really think about how we see food as part of a solution to some of the big challenges which we're facing in all corners of the world is quite an exciting journey, and many of the cities that we'll hear from today are on that journey. And we're keen in the conversation to really pull out from them, what have they learned? What are the tips that other cities might benefit from hearing about? And what are the lessons that we might be able to take to other settings? So I'll give you just one example, as I talked about, from Birmingham and Pune having this conversation together. And they're both at relatively early stages of their food journey, I would say, or maybe we'll hear a little bit more from Pune. When we had Birmingham, the leadership from Birmingham City Council visit Pune, we saw, and we were lucky enough to be able to help facilitate that visit. One of the really exciting takeaways was that Pune had done this incredible job at consulting and involving citizens in the vision for developing the vision for the city. In fact, and maybe you'll tell us more about this, Mr. Mute, I think you managed to reach, in a very short period of time, 50% of the population of the city and involve them in that conversation. So that commitment to engaging citizens and having them steer the process of developing their thinking for the city was really a big message which the leadership of Birmingham took home. Now, Birmingham City Council wasn't able to mobilise the level of engagement that Pune had done, but they did initiate a set of conversations with very hard-to-reach subsections of the population, a set of conversations which happened to understand their food, their barriers to food access, some of the challenges they face with the food system. And they also did an online consultation with citizens. So they were inspired by Pune's idea and then applied it in their own way in their city context. And I think we're hoping that today's conversation will surface more of those ideas that will be of wider value. So I think we should get stuck in and start hearing from the presenters. I think the other thing, before we do that, one other final point I wanted to make. We talk about policy and strategy a little interchangeably in documentation. And for those that are very new on this journey, I think the key message would be not to worry too much about that, because people do use the terms interchangeably. In the UK, we tend to think about policies as essentially creating the parameters and the rules and the building blocks against which a strategy can be built, and the strategy sets out that direction of travel. But I think other settings will use those terms differently, and so I think the key sort of point at the beginning here is, if you're on that journey, not to worry too much about terminology. The key thing is we need to have good foundational instruments, rules and regulations in place to actually build a foundation for a better food system. And we need a vision for how we want to change it, and spanning all the different parts of the food system sort of incrementally over time. And then, of course, we need to actually implement it. We have plenty of policies in the UK which are actually never properly implemented. So thinking about implementation challenge alongside the challenge of actually writing your strategy is equally important. Anyway, let's get on now and hear from what's really happening in these 4 cities, and then we'll have a chance to have further discussion. So I'm delighted to start, first of all, to introduce Mr. Rajendra Mute, who's come from Pune in Maharashtra in India. Mr. Mute has an exemplary record. I mean, you'll see the bio in the notes for the meeting, but I was particularly taken. Is clearly somebody that gets things done on a big scale, and I'm struck in your bio, Mr. Mute, about the fact that, well, you've received awards for getting things done across government, but I think you managed to set up a ration system reaching 80,000 people within 7 days for a population hit by drought. So phenomenal numbers from colleagues in India of people that are getting things done and getting processes moving to help people in this instance in facing drought. So it's an honour to have you with us, and really looking forward to hearing what's happening in Pune. Over to you.
Hola Barcelona, Namaste, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honorable stage. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizers of the conference from the bottom of my heart. As Anna told you, Pune is the city in the western Maharashtra, which is the second largest city of the Maharashtra. The city of Pune began work on food strategy as a result of the Bindi partnership in 2017. Bindi is a learning partnership between Birmingham and Pune, which involved the development of policies and practices of a part of Food Smart initiative. The focus of the partnership was on policies regarding food prepared out of the home, that is street food, to encourage that food which is available and promoted is a safe, nutritious hygienic, affordable, and sustainability in a manner which supports environmental development. Despite being thousands of miles apart, we are facing the same problems, same challenges. The partnership triggered political leadership, commitment towards food system changes. Both cities engaged stakeholders. Initially, this involved reaching to the charitable organizations only, that they were working on tackling malnutrition, undernutrition within the slum communities, as well as those involved in tackling the more recent challenges, obesity and diabetes also. They expressed concern about the rapidly changing food environment. As Pune identified food policy actions, key food system stockholders, from food safety officers to farming associations were engaged. During the visit of Honorable Prime Minister of India to UK in November 2015, partnership between UK and Pune has been announced. The BINDI, Birmingham India Nutritional Initiative, which involves the development of policies and practices through a learning partnership between Birmingham and Pune. Smart nutrition is a new concept and a new topic, different topic, which also needs to be addressed in the city. Earlier, there was any awareness of the diets, but now it has evolved tremendously. Today's lifestyle has led to cause many diseases like diabetes, obesity, etc. Increasing fast food consumption has been linked with increasing obesity. This can be noticed in everywhere, in urban areas, and Pune is not an exception. That's why a new industry or opportunity in dietary and nutritional consultancy, gyms, reducing obesity, barometric surgeries are flourishing in Pune also. This joint partnership between Pune and Birmingham city platforms enable joint learning experience, sharing and piloting the specific initiatives. Pune city, as a signatory to Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, has been working on the agenda of making Pune nutritionally city. This initiative has provided platform for intercity knowledge exchange and to share the experiences of nutrition. Pune is the 8th most populous city of India and 6th largest city in the India, considering the area of the municipal corporation, which is 516 square kilometer. Pune is known as Oxford of the East, pensioners' paradise, IT and automobile hub, and cultural capital of the Maharashtra. Initial steps towards developing the Pune food strategy. Securing political commitment through BINDI initiative, as I explained, stakeholder engagement, citizen engagement, pilot program on urban food systems and its smart challenges, MUFPP, Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, signatory and participating in Food Cities 2022. Next, please. Pune city see rapid urbanization and trends in the food consumption patterns have changed. So, we conducted a citizen engagement exercise which involved conducting a household survey across all stratas. Number of citizens surveyed is more than 3,000. And we were surprised to learn that 72% Pune citizens have ordered food using an online app at least once in the past week. Pune citizens tend to eat unhealthy food, street food. The top reported driver of food choice amongst low socioeconomic groups is price, while the top reported driver of food choice amongst higher socioeconomic groups is healthy options. With this economic and demographic growth, the demand of the city for food supplying outlets has increased. Restaurants, cafe lounges, snacking with tea and coffee during their free time. Young college students and working citizens frequently visiting hotels, lounges, cafes to spend n number of hours for snacking and tea and coffee. So it shows that many students, youngsters in the city are eating more fast food. As part of this partnership, as I told, a sample survey of citizens have been conducted. PMC's auxiliary nurses were instrumental for this survey, which was led by the Gokhale Institute of Politics and Economics, which is a highly respectable name in the research field. It explored existing eating habits and understanding of healthy diets among people in Pune, as well as gathering citizens' view on how policymakers in the city, that is Municipal Corporation of Pune, should make it easier for everyone to eat well. Household survey conducted in Pune which comprises of different size, pattern and citizen aspirations about Pune urban food policy systems. As I told, outcome of the survey, the most popular outside eating item is tea and coffee. Across all the income groups, it is observed that Indian street food is more popular than Western junk food. Survey shows that citizens are finding their food environment increasingly unhealthy, which is a very heavy challenge to corporation. More than 60% agreed unhealthy street food should be banned, and 70% wanted fruits and vegetables to be more affordable. 50% of the citizens surveyed suggested Pune Corporation that more teaching about healthy food, healthy eating habits in the school curriculum, making fruits and vegetables more affordable, tastier take-home rations from Anganwadi centers, which is working for the children below the 6 years, banning unhealthy street food, promoting healthy street food, making street food safer. Street food safer. Yeah. Pune citizens are aware that nutritious food, and they expect Pune Municipal Corporation to undertake certain measures to improve the food systems by adopting various measures. We secured funding from the World Bank to pilot an urban food systems project. The main objectives of the project are to build safe food systems, improve nutritional status of Pune citizens, and forge strong rural-urban links. To meet these objectives, we are delivering three key projects: behavior change campaigns, infrastructure for CBOs, community-based organizations, accessing urban markets, improving the goat meat value chain. There are certain measures being put in place to support Pune citizens to make healthier food choices. The Government of India launched the National Nutrition Mission to better coordinate and strengthen the nutrition related schemes run by different government departments. Its aim to reduce undernutrition, malnutrition in children under the age of 6, adolescent girls, and pregnant and lactating women. Midday meal scheme, which is a very important scheme of India. In Pune, children across 668 schools are provided with a midday meal by the Pune Municipal Corporation. The menu is fixed for each day, which is nutritious, which has nutritional value. PMC has implemented the concept of central kitchen, which caters approximately 10,000 students per day. Pune has launched a new initiative on childhood obesity also, which includes awareness raising campaigns and lectures, programs for mothers and young children to reduce malnutrition by providing supplementary foods to children under the age of 6. Anemia Mukta Bharat strategy. It's a new concept to reduce anemia in India by 3% between 2016 to 2022. It proposes a 6-part strategy, including supplementation, fortification, deworming, testing for anemia, behavior changes campaigns, and addressing non-nutritional causes of anemia. Yeah, just a minute. So PMC is taking action against unhygienic street food vendors. In Maharashtra, there is a FDA, Food Drugs Administration, a separate department which takes actions, which authorized to check the nutritious value, healthier condition of the street markets. So we also continue to involve in national and international initiatives, such as signing up to MUFPP and participating in the national Eat Smart challenges. Initiatives like this help to sustain momentum required for system challenge. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Really interesting. Lots of stuff that we can dig into in the conversation afterwards. So keep your questions and your thoughts, and we'll definitely come back to that when we have the chance for discussion. But we're going to go now to another corner of the world, to Rio Grande. Right, if you don't know where Rio Grande is, I would urge you to look at it on your maps on your phone, because it's right at the bottom of South America. I mean, really an incredible location, and we're incredibly lucky to have Mr. Lapadula here to tell us about what the challenges which Rio Grande is facing, and what an incredible range of things they're doing to try and address those challenges. So thank you for joining us, and over to you now. Yes, sorry, this presentation will be in Spanish. So if you don't speak Spanish, I would urge you to put your headset on. Channel 1 if you'd like to hear the translation in English. Over to you, Mr. Lapadula, and a very warm welcome to the room.
Thank you very much. Hello, thank you for your invitation to take part in this event. For us, it's an honor to share with you this space, this framework for food policies to improve health food systems of all the cities in the world. My name is Matias Lapadula. I'm economic development of the city of Rio Grande since 2019. I lead a project, city project, that's a long-term project based on economic sustainability, social sustainability, and urban sustainability. In this city project, our policy for food sovereignty is a fundamental pillar. As a new city incorporating to the forum, And to put you in context, Rio Grande is a city that is part of the province of Tierra del Fuego, Antártida, and islands of Atlántico Sur in the southern Argentinian Patagonia, in the southern point of America. We are located in an island, the 54 parallel, with a subantarctic climate, with strong winds from the southwest that can reach even 100 kilometers an hour. We celebrated our centenary. We are a young city. The city was created in a territory of the Shegnan population. The Rio Grande population is identified by the culture of work and the love for the land. It's a community with more than 35,000 families. Rio Grande was founded 100 years ago as an agricultural and farming colony, and we started to create our history from the Salesian community and the farming and agricultural activities. With time, an economic expansion took place related to farming and cattle, and after 1972, with Act 140 that provides advantages to the companies that settled in our region, our city was considered the southernmost industrial city. Our main necessity is to develop a food policy that's based on 4 main issues or subjects that the city has. The first one is that our city is located in an island, on an island, sorry. It is the southernmost inhabited city in America. So most of the food we obtain comes from different parts of the countries. We import more than 12,000 tons of food which come to the island through ships and trucks, and which normally have low quality and poor traceability. They come from different distribution centers that are located more than 1,000 kilometers away. They had to cross 3 borders, and you have to cross the Magellan Strait to reach our island. And in the second place, we have a extreme subantarctic climate that has determined our food production and increased the production cost. We just produce 3% of the food, the fresh food that we consume. In the third place, the urban population has doubled in the last 10 years due to an industrial policy, from 65,000 inhabitants to 130,000 inhabitants in 2020. This accelerated growth has exceeded our food production capacity. Regarding this, a fourth aspect is the increased expansion, urban expansion that we are undergoing. Our urban area has doubled in the last 10 years, specifically in rural areas, causing a range of environmental problems. All these issues led us to promote an urban food strategy in order to develop a production and consumption, a food consumption system that is more diverse and inclusive. In order to fulfill this mission, we have taken some actions, such as the technical and economic support of local producers, together with universities, and specific policies for the incorporation of local produce in the urban markets. From the beginning of our management, we have set one of our main axes to achieve a transition towards food sovereignty, being able to increase the amount of foodstuff we consume. That's why we created the Municipal Agro program, which is a proposal to strengthen small fruit and vegetable producers, providing them with technical and economic support throughout the productive process. from the beginning to the commercialization. As of today, we are accompanying more than 170 small producers, and this amount has tripled in the last 2 years. So that means that this activity is growing. Our city provide small plants for leaf produce, reducing the production times and being able to collect the crops faster. We expect the delivery of more than 1 million small plants to these producers. We are working on diversifying the current production with plants that are adapted to the area. In addition, Rio Grande has created institutional links with national and international organizations to promote farming and agriculture. We have signed a convention with the Technology of Agri-Food Institute, with which we carry out producer assistance projects, and we have created the agroecologic seal, supported by these institutions to promote sustainable production without agrochemicals, guaranteeing traceability and generating added value. It is important to highlight that due to our climate, production is done in greenhouses with different sorts of plastics and products. We produce lettuce, Swiss chard, garlic, and several herbs. Mid and to short-term project we have is to concentrate this production in an apt area of the city using technology, and therefore providing a scalability to production, which will provide us to supply the local market with healthy and fresh food. Throughout 2021, we have generated synergies with the City Council of Almeria in Spain, with which we have created several projects to promote agri-food in Rio Grande, taking advantage of the technological development and know-how of Almeria and Rio Grande. These projects were presented in 2021 in several calls of the European Union. In addition, Rio Grande has also a municipal program to pork meat that encompasses 52 local producers, helping them throughout the production chain. We're one of the few cities in the Patagonia that we have our own plan that's being updated for the implementation of Cycle 2, through which we will be able to produce a vacuum preserved produce. We are also creating sectorial projects for small producers in urban agriculture and traditional fishing. Taking part in this event is a great opportunity to provide global approach by building alliances and obtaining tools for our decision-making processes. So thank you so much, and we invite you to come to Rio Grande wherever you like and enjoy Argentina. Thank you so much.
What a wonderful invitation to everybody, and thank you ever so much, Mr. Lapadula, for talking us through the unique challenges that you face and how you're starting to tackle them. Looking forward to further conversation and Q&A about that. We're going to hand now, I believe, to Mr. Lado from Maputo. It's wonderful to have you with us. Mr. Lado has been, well, you have a very strong link to China, right? So you did your degree in China, and then you're also part of the sort of diplomatic, strengthening economic ties with China from Maputo. So it's great to have you with us. You're in charge of local economic development in Maputo, right? So really excited to hear about what you've been doing. And over to you, and you can stand over there. Yeah, thank you.
Well, good morning, I believe still. No, good afternoon. We're supposed to share some information here with the audience. First of all, I would like to thank the organization for inviting Mozambique, especially Maputo City, to come and share the experience on the urban agriculture. It's an honor for us to be here. So this is a unique opportunity to share our experience, our projects, and how we look to the urban agriculture in the country. Well, Mozambique is a country located in southern part of Africa, and the capital city is Maputo, where I come from. It's a city with 1.2, 1.4 million inhabitants. That's why, because in the daytime we have more population, nighttime short, because there is a closer city to our capital, so most of the people move during the day to work in the capital, and in the evening they go back. So can we go to the slide, next slide, please? Yeah, and the agriculture is one of the most important sector in the country. It contributes with almost 80% of the GDP, and no, sorry, it's 25% of the GDP, and 80% of the population depends on agriculture. In Maputo, we have almost 14,000 families working on agriculture. We have roughly 300,000 square kilometers, and with a huge potential on developing agriculture, especially to supply the local market, mainly restaurants, hotels, and some NGOs. But there is a challenge. We have a border with South Africa, and about 109 tons of imported goods daily comes to Maputo. And Maputo works as a hub to supply goods to all countries, so mainly coming from South Africa. And this becomes a challenge to compete with a very strong and competitive agricultural sector from South Africa, with all good conditions to have the products refrigerated and supplying throughout the year. Next. And there is another challenge which Mr. Lapadula mentioned. It's the city is growing, so there is a lot of lands transformed from agriculture use to housing use. So that's shortened the capabilities of the agriculture to develop on those lands. And we also have a weak network of irrigation and drainage systems. Why? Because we depend mainly on the rainy season. On the dry season, the yields are very low because there is a lack of water. There is weak knowledge as well, so that's why we need to find some good partners to develop new techniques, special conservation of agriculture, organic and biological. There is high and inadequate use of agrochemicals. And this is a kind of endangers the productivity of the soils. There is deficiency or weakness on post-harvest technology. It means all value chain, transport, processing, and packaging. And packaging is one of the biggest challenge we have in the country. The farmers produce, but they don't have means of processing the products and package and send to the final market. So next challenge. There is high weakness of circuits, agriculture, marketing network. That's what I mentioned before. What are the way forward? What are we doing now? So we are using good practice such as, because we have a lot of farmers, we organize them in association. So for that, so it will be easier to assist throughout the year. And we have know-how transfer through a technical and normative capacity for production and management of agrarian statistics, agriculture production, planning, measurement, and areas and yields. We encourage the agriculture to use organic means to increase the productivity, mainly biofertilizer, pesticides, and compounds. And with that production, we start with the process of certification of organic products. And there's a very high demand of these products, and with our support, most of these agriculture can get better incomes when selling the organic products. Next. What our perspective to the massification of the organic production, and also we need to come with partnerships to get research and technical training for the organic production. And finally, Maputo City has in place development of sustainable urban and ecological agriculture, which will be start next year, because a consultant have been hired. So from the next year we'll start developing this strategy, which will help a lot on development our urban agriculture. That's all I have to share with you guys, and look forward to have more questions on the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. How interesting, right, to compare the challenge which we heard from Rio Grande about how to get fruits and vegetables into the city, and a different set of challenges from Maputo, but with the same goal: how do we get more local fruit and veg production to feed citizens? So it'd be good to talk about that a little bit more when we come to the discussion. Now we're moving east towards to Southeast Asia, to Indonesia, and we have Mr. Ginanjar, hopefully online, and we're going to hear a little bit about what's been going on in Bandung. Very excited to hear this presentation, and I think Mr. Bandung has been personally really leading this effort around home growing in the city. We're excited to hear about it. And before you jump in, Mr. Bandung, we'd love to see your slides, so if you would like to share your screen now, I think that's the way the technology works, if you're feeling comfortable to do that. If you'd like to show your slides from your computer, brilliant. Fantastic. Over to you now, Mr. Ginanjar. Very warm welcome.
Okay, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, the honorable audience. Thank you for coming in my presentation. First of all, I would like to thank to all of audiences, especially I want to say hello to all the 7 MUFPP Global Forum participants. Okay, I am Ginanjar. I am head of Food Security and Agriculture Department of Bandung City. Today I am not alone. With me present for Parahyangan University, also come Cooperation Section, Communication and Information Office, also from our staff, and we are joining the Bandung Food Smart City team. We would like to describe how we try to establish the food security based on family and community. through integrated urban farming. This presentation entitled Bandung Integrated Urban Farming Buruan Saya contribute to city issues resolution. Food security, stunting, nutrition, food waste, greenhouse gas emission, and pressure on natural resources such as land and water continue to be issues in Asia Pacific. To address these issues, public intervention must be developed. In terms of global food issues, Indonesia is a major player. Indonesia is the world's second largest producer of food waste. An average of 300 kilos of food waste per year per person. And Bandung is one of Indonesia major city with a population of approximately 1.5 million people. Bandung as a metropolitan city, no less than 96% of Bandung city's food comes from outside supplies. Meanwhile, the agricultural land are decreasing and changing its function into residential, office, service, or trade areas. Bandung has a strong desire to become a food smart city that benefit both the social economy and the environment. Our best hope is a city that is healthy, equal, and sustainable. However, in order to become a food smart city, the city of Bandung must overcome numerous obstacles, including stunting, waste problem, including organic waste and food waste. A small proportion of green open space in Bandung City, nutrition problem that can be accessed by city residents, and risk inflation in increasing food prices as a daily need for citizens. In early 2020, we experimented a new method of urban farming known as Bandung Integrated Urban Farming that in local language we call Buruan Saya, with 8 activities not only on planting vegetables. 8 activities of Buruan Saya are growing vegetables, fruit, medicinal plant, fish such as catfish, tilapia, and so on, chicken livestock, management of organic waste of household waste to be compost or animal feed, nursery, and the last one was processing the product of Buruan Saya that has high economic value. During the pandemic COVID-19, we expand Buruan Saya, collaborating with stakeholders including university, community, media, and international and local NGO, also from army and police. As a result, from a technical standpoint, integrated urban farming Buruan Saya can utilize undervalued yard and land, making use of a second-hand item as planting medium. Various maintenance techniques start from the simple way, also hydroponic, aquaponic, rooftop garden, and semi-modern automation are used, giving multiple impacts such as increasing environmental quality, soil, water, fresh air, green area, education, and agritourism, and also circular economy. Mostly in pandemic COVID-19 era, Buruan Saya helped to meet the family's food needs. and to save money on food for the family, also becoming a way for women to be empowered. This is the Mayor Hall, which has many Buruansai activities. There are agriculture, a lot of some vegetable, livestock, fisheries. Also, there are waste processing, and also we are also building integrated agriculture pilot. That can you look my video.
Saint Farm adalah sebuah kawasan pertanian terpadu sekaligus tempat wisata di kaki Gunung Manglayang, Kota Bandung. Di sini, kita dapat berekreasi sambil belajar tentang budidaya pertanian, tanaman hidroponik, ternak domba, ayam, dan ikan seperti lele dan nila yang sudah menggunakan teknologi bioflok. Menikmati senja, bercengkrama bersama teman, sahabat, dan keluarga dalam hangatnya api unggun akan memberikan kenangan yang sangat indah. Seindah panorama Gunung Manglayang, hijaunya sawah Sekemala, dan hamparan kota Bandung yang menawan. Yuk, mampir ke Saint Farm, Sekemala Integrated Farming.
Yeah, okay. What does the outcome of Buruansai? Buruansai can help to solve the city challenges listed above by reducing the number of Bandung city stunting, helping to reduce waste burden into compost or animal feed, can add green open space and beautify the city's corners, help some resident nutritional needs, attempt to reduce inflation by planting shallot and red chili, encourages urban farming actors to share yield, food sharing becoming a new phenomenon for urban communities. This is our experience on encouraging food policy implementation in the city of Bandung. We want to be a part of the cities that implement sustainable food system, as well as contribute to reducing the world food problem by developing the city from the house yard. So what will we do in the next step? For the future, we will do the following step. First, increasing the quantity and quality of collaboration with various components throughout Bandung, including international NGO such as Ricolto, local communities, and urban village. Second, collaborating with other cities in Indonesia and the ASEAN Pacific region by disseminating food smart city initiative. We believe that the experience of implementing Buruansai in urban areas can be used as a model for other cities in Indonesia and the Asia Pacific region. Terima kasih, thank you. Hopefully, God Almighty will give us hope and avoid global climate disaster. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really wonderful to see all your colleagues with you as well. I'm so glad that they could be with us. And thank you for telling us about the super interesting work that you're doing in Indonesia. So we've now got an opportunity for a conversation together and a chance for questions, but also pulling out some of the key themes and insights which you've gathered through your work. So I don't know whether I'm going to come to everybody in the room with questions. Do we have any online already? Not yet. Okay, so let's carry on with pulling out some of the key issues. So I was interested in linking with others. So we heard in Pune that you've got the connections with the National Mission, you've got the connections with the World Bank, you've got the partnership with Birmingham, a set of sort of international or, you know, a set of wider connections. I think also we heard Mr. Lapadula, I'm not sure if you entirely covered this, but you did talk in in the documentation you sent in advance, you talked about your ambition in Rio Grande to create some connections with other cities and bring in some of those ideas. I'm interested in, from all of you, or any of you, why is that important, and how important has it been for you to have those connections beyond your city for trying to get your work to progress? Is it important, and if so, why? I don't know, Mr. Muta, would you like to give us some of your thoughts? The microphone's there.
Hello. What Anna asked, it's important to connect with the international associations, but just I got from the Bandung, from Argentina, from Mozambique, and the same is with India, that we should initiate our emphasis on the local foods, local food chains. In Maharashtra or in India, we have started some programs like, as Mr. Jinpar told us, and which proved more important in the last COVID pandemic. That direct to home supply chain, to emphasis and promoting the production of organic foods, healthy foods, nutritious food, weekly markets. In Maharashtra, a new concept, we adopted a new concept, that's a weekly market, means direct farmers to consumers.
So in fact, COVID has actually made the local conversation stronger. I mean, I think we saw that from the Indonesia experience, that COVID has been a big created momentum. Is that right, Mr. Gingin? Is that the situation, that the pandemic has given greater momentum for your work? Would you like to come in?
Buruan saya was massively developed in the city of Bandung at the end of 2019 and early 2020, when the COVID pandemic began to spread to almost every country in the world, including Indonesia, also Bandung. The need of healthy food are increasing to care of resident immunity during COVID-19. Therefore, Buruan saya become the best choice of city community. Then many people engage in activities at home during the lockdown policy. Many people in the city of Bandung have chosen to use their yard for urban farming. As a result, the city government policy of using house yard for urban farming gains community support, and the integrated urban farming Buruan saya gets more popular.
And Mr. Lapadula, you talked about your ambition. I mean, you're a very young city, 100 years old, but you have ambition to start to connect with other cities. Why do you want to do that?
Well, obviously, so we strongly believe that it is very important, the relationship and learning from other cities, and also successful models like in Almeria, So we are not that ambitious in reaching the levels of Almería city, which is the fourth in Europe, but we think that we need to copy these examples and take these examples in the production of food, in the escalation of the production of food. And there is a lot of potential, and we share a lot of things. We know that they have very windy weather, very dry weather like we do, and the production there is done under roof. And this is something we need to start doing, because we think that all these experiences and sharing with other cities with the same models are going to help us grow and escalate in the production of food, because this is our main goal. Because as I said, in our region, with the difficulties that we have, I was listening also the impact of the COVID pandemic here in our region, so far away, with the borders closed and all the foods come through the land, the borders of Chile. So we were really under risk, and there was a scarcity of food during the pandemic, and this is why we were aware of our situation. We became aware of our situation, apart from the food sovereignty and also the possibility of having fresh produce, healthy products, and also make sure that these products get to us. So the pandemic has taught a lot of things, and we need to design new policies so that we have a more independent city, and looking for this food sovereignty.
Thank you. Really interesting. That's a great link now to the question around policy. So I'm interested to hear from Maputo. You set out the zones where you've been doing all of this work to try and strengthen the supply chains again, really. I got the impression that that was sort of driven from economic imperatives. They've got this sort of imported food, you know, and then you want to create opportunity for livelihoods and produce locally. Did you have to actually did you have a policy written down and approved to start that work? Did you do it as a strategy? What was the kind of paperwork that got you on that journey? And tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you. Actually, the government has a development agenda generally. And as I said, there's 4 major pillars, which agriculture is one of the main one. And there are some incentives given to local productions or local producers in order to get better yields. But in case of Maputo, we need to look into a local solution for the agriculture. Maputo is near South Africa. South Africa is one of the most developed countries in Africa, and is a strong economy in the Southern Africa. And they have a commercial agriculture, while Mozambique is more rural, more family agriculture. So we need to get policies driven into the, our local farmers. One of the most important solution that we can get is get some good facilities for them, mainly right on spot, I mean, near the farms, to have processing unities in order to get them more competitive. Otherwise, they will be, overcome by the commercial farmers from South Africa. But COVID-19 has taught us a good lesson, because with the lockdown, we had to depend mainly on our local production.
Yeah.
So they could get better results, good prices selling locally. So what we need to do in the coming years is to have this policy in place and have more incentives to develop our local agriculture.
And so your work fits within a national policy framework. Have you had to set out your policy in Maputo specifically, or is it enough for it just to fit under that national policy?
No, no. We are currently doing, we hired the consultant to do the policy locally in Maputo. Maputo municipality. Yeah, because you see, it's different. You know, the agriculture done in Maputo city, it's quite different on the other province, because we don't have enough land, agricultural land, to develop.
And is that policy go through a sort of formal process of review through the municipality, the municipal corporation, or I don't know the full title of it for Maputo? Is it go through that process and consultation with citizens? What process will it go through?
Yes, the process starts at the farmers. You know? And with the research done by the consultant, the final document has to be presented at Maputo City Council. And then from there, we can approve through a General Assembly, so it can be implemented.
And that will lay out the plan for the coming years, for how you plan to develop this?
Yes, for the next 10 years.
Okay, that's exciting. What about in Pune? Have you had to develop any new policy or strategy documents to underpin, you know, the work that you described with the pilot? You know, what happens next after the pilot? Is there a strategy process that's happening alongside that in Pune?
Yeah, actually, while considering the Pune Municipal Corporation, we are initiating the marketing for the local peoples, adjusting from the adjusting villages. There are 34 villages have been merged in the Pune Corporation in last 2 to 3 years, which are mostly dependent on agriculture. So we are initiating and on the local foods. But in Maharashtra, there is certain other departments like warehousing corporation, agriculture department, which are really working in this field in the production of the local food. But Pune Municipal Corporation gives them market and connection between citizens and the adjacent farmers.
So there's different powers, I guess, at the state level versus the municipal corporation level. And the state level is doing more of the production side. But that means the work that you can do at the municipal corporation level, you're thinking more about consumption and all the work that you presented about how you're
Pune is the biggest market for the adjacent farmers, and Pune district also.
Okay, that's interesting. What about the policy process in Bandung? Can we hear a little bit about, have you had to, is there a strategy which underpins all the work that you described? I love, the film was amazing, the film of the farm, and looking at how you sort of integrated tourism and leisure and community building in the production story is really, really fascinating. But have you got a strategy that you spent a long time writing before you got going, or has the strategy developed as the work has grown and got momentum? Can we ask you that, Mr. Gingin?
The city government has stated in the planning document is the initiator of food policy in the city of Bandung. The policies of the city government are in accordance with national regulation. The Bandung city community use their creative abilities to carry out city policies. For example, when the government issued an integrated urban farming policy called Buruan Sae that emphasized the use of the yard, the communities step up to play a role by expanding the urban farming activity. In some urban farming areas, the community conduct their activities with their own awareness. and the government support the initiative. On the next occasion, the urban farming activity will be expanded to include other stakeholders, such as business institutions, universities, and the media. Also, army, police, and school, Islamic full-day school, we call pesantren, in addition to the government and community.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's great. I'm going to open it now to see if anybody would like to come into the conversation from the room here. It would be really great to hear from other cities that perhaps are represented in the room, or others who are working with cities and might draw some insight. Would anybody like to ask a question? What about online? Do we have any questions online? We don't have any questions online? Yeah, please. How are we handling that?
Hi everyone, my name is Charlotte from Recolto. I really enjoyed all the presentations today. It was really great to hear from all of you. I have a bit of a difficult question, something that we struggle a lot with all the cities we work with, and that's the issue of finding the right balance between affordability and also a right income for farmers. So I wanted to hear from the speakers here in the room and also online, how have you considered this in the development of your food strategies, food policies, food actions? What are the kind of key strategies that can help provide good income for farmers while still remaining affordable for consumers? Thank you very much.
Great question. Obviously, this is one of the really kind of big tensions, isn't it, in taking forward work around food. Why don't we hear from how Rio Grande's been thinking about this? You've obviously got the challenge of a lot of imported fruit and vegetables, and you're trying to have more locally grown. Does that mean the prices go up, or does that mean that you end up with a cheaper product? And what about farmer livelihoods? Tell us a little bit about that, Mr. Lapadula, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, obviously, from our municipality, we have created these programs that support the local farmers, and the idea is to increase the production and reduce costs, incorporating technology. So we are working so that all the local producers migrate to hydroponics, which works really well under covered production, and the production time is shortened significantly. We also intend to reduce the costs. However, as I mentioned before, cost reduction and price reduction of these products exists because the freight and the transport is very costly. So because food comes from really far away, so the freight transport is really costly. It comes through trucks. It's really expensive. So we set off this additional cost when producing locally. So local production of foodstuff ends up being less expensive, and the food is fresher and more healthy for all the population of Rio Grande. So that really makes sense. That's why we have to focus on, or to take this path.
Really work for Rio Grande. What about in Maputo? So maybe the South African produce which is coming in can be coming in at a lower price point. I mean, you mentioned that prices went up during COVID because some of those imports were stopped, and that created an opportunity. How are you dealing with that challenge in Maputo?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is for the farmers is to put the vegetables, the products into the market. And what we have done as Maputo City Council is to get the way to have some facilities at the market where the farmers can get the products directly and sell to the final consumers. In Maputo, we have one of the biggest, or it is the biggest wholesale market in the country, which is nearby our farms, and we have the opportunity to get spaces for the agriculture to put the products there and sell directly. But of course there is a challenge on transportation because that increases the cost. What we're trying to do is cut the intermediaries. Those are the ones that make the final products get expensive. If the farmer can go directly to the market, of course we can have a balanced price for the final goods.
It's interesting, so the sort of technology route in Rio Grande and here kind of taking out the middlemen, building some of that infrastructure for getting product to market. I'm interested in the same sort of question for Pune, less from a production perspective, but you talked quite a lot about the citizens' preference for street food, but local street food, not sort of westernized street food. Are there any challenges with unhealthier foods coming in very, very cheaply now on the market, and that creating a set of price incentives for citizens, which is taking their diets in the wrong direction and undermining some of that local food, which people might value on paper, but when it comes to their purse and their money, they're going in a different direction. What do you think, Mr. Mute?
Yes, just asked by, as a question is asked, that affordability and the benefit to the producers. So here the concept of the welfare state works. So if in Pune, for example, in Pune, the costliest food or production is the organic production. Organic food is the costliest, which gets us in the supermarkets, etc. So that's why government initiated subsidies to producers, farmers. PMC is thinking to allot the resort lands of the PMC to the farmers for the temporary basis for the production of organic foods, to provide infrastructure, which is the duty of corporation. Also availability of the market and removal of the middleman from the system is the basic and just briefed that transportation. The situation in the Pune is different. Transportation is easily available and on the cheap basis is cheaply. As you asked, Anna, that about the healthier foods, I described in my presentation, it's a new generation which likes unhealthy food, street food. So we are taking actions against unhealthy foods. As I described, FDA and Pune Corporation works together against it, and to try to provide a healthier and nutritious street food to the citizens.
Thank you very much. I think we have one more question here. Would you like to?
Well, good afternoon. Yes, I'm Manuel de Araújo. I am the mayor of Quelimane City in Mozambique. Well, I just wanted to understand from the panelists, because one of the panelists mentioned the idea of one of the ways to lower the costs of the final cost of produce will be to take off the intermediaries. So I wanted to understand how the municipality can do that, first of all. And second, if it is a wise way, because, I mean, there are other objectives that the municipality could achieve by maintaining the intermediaries. Like, for example, one of the objectives of any city is, for example, is employment promotion. So it's like there are other side wins, so that if you cut the intermediaries, I don't know if you will be able of making the farmers vendors. I mean, I think it's a channel chain. It's a chain where you have producers, then you have the intermediaries, then you have the final vendors, and so on. So I don't know, how do you cut it, and if it's cutting is the best way to solve the problem. Thank you.
So you've described the system, essentially. Are there, so perhaps we should ask you, Dr. Lado, are there any unintended consequences of cutting out the middleman?
Yes, of course there is a consequence. The middlemen can become unemployed, but in the developing economies, those middlemen try to find a different way of living. They can change, the business. In case of Maputo, those can go straight to the neighboring country and get the goods and sell in the markets. What you're trying to do is, because the farmers normally they get a very low income when they sell the products to the middlemen, and they're also complaining to have the opportunity to sell directly in the market. Some they do because we provided the space for that, and some other had some partnership with some NGOs. They organize, for instance, the organic foods, and they supply direct to the restaurants, hotels, and even those NGOs. So it's a matter of trying to satisfy one side of the problem, but of course the middlemen intend to get unemployed, but they can find a different solution in order to get the business going.
I think it's a great example of intervening in the system and trying to anticipate what the knock-on effects are going to be, which is one of the hardest things about developing a strategy. I mean, certainly in the UK, we find that when the government intervenes to try and control, for example, advertising of junk food to children, puts in a new regulation, the advertising pops up somewhere else, gets to children another way that's not through TV, maybe it's now through their games online or whatever. And this kind of, what the system scientists call the balloon effect, of squeezing the system in one place and seeing it pop up somewhere else. And the challenge around doing food systems and thinking about the strategy in a systems terms is getting to the heart of some of these real challenges around how you intervene. I think we're coming towards the end, and it makes sense for us to wrap up. Florence is going to tell us a little bit about the learning platform so that everyone's got that information available. But before she does that, I did want to say a really very heartfelt thank you to our speakers. What an amazing set of work that you're all doing, and I hope that you found it useful to hear from one another and are taking away new thoughts and insights from other parts of the world. I know I've taken away a huge amount from your presentation. So we'll give you all a clap now, and then we'll hand to Florence. So thank you all very, very much.
Great, thank you very much, Anna. Could I have my last couple of slides up, please? So I wanted to take the last few minutes just to tell you a little bit more about the Food Cities 2022 Learning Partnership. The partnership was a development from the success of the Bindi partnership that we heard about earlier between Birmingham and Pune. And the partnership focuses primarily on countries, on cities in low to middle income countries, with a focus on the Commonwealth, because the partnership will be culminating in a meeting at the Commonwealth Games, which are being hosted in Birmingham next year. Through the partnership, cities have access to peer-to-peer learning and to tailored support. We're also running 3 webinar series, the first of which was our Introduction to Food Strategy, which I described at the beginning. And our second webinar series actually begins next Wednesday on the 3rd, and that will be looking at emergency food planning. So thinking about how cities can respond to emergencies and to shocks within their food supplies and food systems within their cities. We've got some fantastic experts and practitioners from cities presenting case studies, and each of the webinars will have accompanying resources that go with them. So it's looking like a great series, so do please come and join us, and details on how to do so will follow shortly. And the final part of our Learning Partnership Programme is our learning platform, which is just newly launched last week. So I'm excited to tell you about that. So the learning platform has been developed to be a really accessible directory of information for cities that are developing food strategies, or for anyone within a city working on food challenges. We've designed it so it's not only good to browse and to learn, but also in such a way that you can easily locate relevant information that is of most use to the challenges that you're particularly working on at that time. So you can explore in more depth our food strategy series. We also have food strategy action areas, so that's broken down into things like urban planning, food waste, safe and nutritious diets, and many more. And within each of those, we've got some key best practice case studies and resources to explore those action areas. And there's so much resource out there, there's so much information out there for cities who are looking at food strategy and food policy. So what we've done in our resources section is identified what we think are the best resources, the best guidelines and frameworks, reports, websites. And for each of these, we've done a short synthesis, a description that says what's in it, who is it aimed at, what its key strengths are, and what it's most useful for. So we hope it's going to be a really useful way to just find the information that you're looking for really quickly and efficiently. We also have a news and events section. And in that event section, you'll be able to find out more information on our emergency food planning webinar series, and you'll be able to register for those webinars as well. And we have a monthly features section as well, so fresh content that is happening in the world of food strategy will be posted on there. So I hope that you will have an explore and that you'll find it a really useful resource, and we'd be really open to any feedback that you may have on that as well. So that brings us to the end of the session. If you do have any questions about the Learning Partnership, about the platform, or anything else we've discussed today, then please do get in touch with me. My email address is on the screen, florence.pardo@foodfoundation.org.uk. And this is the bit.ly link that you can use to access the learning platform. So just simply bit.ly/SC2022. So that just leaves me to echo Anna's thanks to all of our fantastic speakers, to thank Anna herself as well, to the organising committee for having us, and of course for all of you for joining us. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thanks, bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Ginadar. Gracias.
Welcome.